The new year is not real. It's an artificial, made-up event. Nothing has really changed. Nothing has actually happened. We know this because there are so many different ways of tracking the year. There is the fiscal year. There's the academic year and the agricultural year. There are regular years and leap years. There's the Chinese year, which varies each year, typically starting somewhere between January 21st and February 20th and lasting until a similar date the following year. In actuality, every single day is a new year because 1 year has elapsed since that day, 1 year earlier. But still, there is something to the new year. Even the Stoics acknowledged it. Seneca started each year by plunging into the frigid Tiber River in Rome. I think he was washing off the old year and starting fresh for a new year, as well as starting by doing something challenging and difficult. Sure, you could start fresh any day, but would you? Do you know? So let's use the close of 2023 and the beginning of 2024 as an opportunity, however forced, however artificial, to re-examine, reorient, and restart. That's what Epictetus said. First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. He asked how much longer we were going to wait to demand the best of and from ourselves. Here are some habits, some things I'm going to ask of myself in 2024, many of which were inspired by the daily Stoic New Year New You challenge, which starts on January 1st. It's a big part of my year each year, kicking things off with something that challenges me. And I hope you'll... The writer James Clear talks about the idea of atomic habits, and has a really good book with the same title. An atomic habit is a small habit that makes an enormous difference in your life. He talks about how the British cycling team was completely turned around by focusing on 1% improvements in every area. That sounds small, but Clear emphasizes that repetitive actions accumulate and add up in a big way over time. Well-being is realized by small steps, Zeno would say looking back on his life, but is truly no small thing. If you want to start reading more, don't promise yourself you're going to read more books this year. Instead, commit to reading 1 page per day. If running a mile seems daunting, that's fine. Start with a walk around the block. If your eating habits are a mess, start by making 1 healthy food choice a day. Just focus on getting started, because once you start, you can build. Starting small only works if you have patience, though, if you stay at it. Hofstadter's law says it always takes longer than you think it's going to take, even when you think it's going to take a long time. As I wrote about a little while back, I've learned this repeatedly throughout my career. I started blogging in 2005. My first book came out in 2012. The Obstacle is the Way came out in 2014 and took 6 years for it to hit any bestseller list. I didn't hit the New York Times bestseller list until 2019 on my 13th book. My wife suggested we open a small-town bookstore back in the fall of 2019. We were delayed opening by a year because COVID, then for another year we didn't feel right opening. Then a freak storm and political incompetence shut down the power grid, leading to burst pipes and a busted roof. Then books were unavailable due to a global logistics crisis. It was, you might say, one damn thing after another. That's life. That's how success works. And that's not even getting into my actual journey as a person and as a writer, progress in which has been slow to say the least. I feel like I'm just becoming capable of stuff that I set out to improve on years ago. The point is, it always takes longer than you want. So one of the most important habits is the habit that makes all other habits possible: patience. It doesn't matter if it's writing a book, opening a small business, getting in shape, establishing a reading or meditation practice. It always takes longer than you expect. It takes longer than you're willing to wait. In any case, it takes however long it takes. We want our progress now. We want our success now. We want our rewards now. But if you can practice delayed gratification, if you can understand that all good things take time, that it's a process, you're almost always going to be more successful. And activities based on Stoic philosophy. It was an awesome experience. Even I, the person who created the challenge, got a lot out of it. Why? Deciding what we want to do, determining our own habits, and making the right choices is exhausting. Handing the wheel over to someone else is a way to narrow our focus and put everything into the commitment. Adopting a new habit always seems daunting at first. As I write about in Courage is Calling, fortune favors the brave. We can't just hope to be brave when it counts. Courage has to be cultivated. To do the big things that scare you, start with smaller things. Start with developing the ability to push yourself to do stuff you're reluctant to do. To be able to endure the cold reception of a bold idea, start with enduring a cold shower. To be able to step forward when the stakes are high, regularly do that when the stakes are low. To be able to embrace the discomfort of a major life change, accustom yourself to minor discomforts. We treat the body rigorously, Seneca said, so that it may not be disobedient to the mind. We push ourselves in little ways, so the big ways stop seeming quite so big, quite so out of character. We minimize fear by making the act of overcoming it routine. We test ourselves to prepare for the tests of life. By methodically and deliberately exposing ourselves to small challenges, what once seemed daunting becomes manageable, even routine.
Hugh Jackman reads right after he wakes up, early, in the morning. For many years, he and his wife would read out loud to each other for 30 or so minutes. It's the best. I recommend it to anyone. It's the greatest way to start the day. Right now, I'm reading Stillness is the Key. I'm really into philosophy. So we read and we talk, because stuff's on your mind. That way, no matter what happens through our day, we know that we've had quality time together. You always think tonight, after work, after this, when we put the kids to bed, but that doesn't always happen. Camilla Cabello told me she starts her day by reading the Daily Stoic email, which you can sign up for here, and then one page from the Daily Stoic. I like to read from Tolstoy's A Calendar of Wisdom or Robert Greene's The Daily Laws. I try to get some exercise in the morning, and I for sure write in the morning. My assistant knows not to schedule calls or meetings in the morning because they make it too easy to let the day get away from you. They sap your willpower early. By tackling writing first by getting some time outside, with the kids usually first, I already won the day. Everything else is extra from there. Well-intentioned plans fall apart. Our willpower evaporates. So it's key not only that we prioritize the essential things, but that we habitualize doing them first thing. Whenever I speak to military groups, I like to tell them about one of my favorite quotes in meditations. Don't be ashamed to need help. Like a soldier storming a wall, you have a mission to accomplish. And if you've been wounded and you need a comrade to pull you up, so what? I like the way he says that with a shrug. So what? There's nothing shameful about needing help. Whether that's going to therapy, asking for advice, or hiring someone to work for you, help is the secret to getting better, to unlocking potential breakthroughs, gains, or efficiencies. Tim Ferriss has a great question related to this. What would this look like if it were easy? The idea is that things don't need to be hard if you're doing them right. Just as with managing a business, forming new habits often requires putting in place the right kind of support and building a supportive infrastructure around you. Identify the barriers that make a habit difficult and find ways to remove them. If you need a helping hand, so what? If you need a coach or a trainer and you can afford it, hire one. It's not a moral failure to have childcare or an accountant. If you don't know exactly what to do or how to do it, ask someone who does. We're in this mission together. We're comrades. Get help.